I'm Dave Miller. This is Think Out Loud on OPB. We turn today and right now to one of the most influential animals in history. Their teeth felled trees and created whole ecosystems. Their furs fueled European exploration and fomented war. Their glands added a leathery note to perfumes, and their name on rivers, lakes, ponds, creeks, mountains, and on have filled North American atlases. I am talking, of course, about the mighty beaver, the official animal of Oregon, New York, and Canada. According to a new book by the Victoria, BC writer Francis Backhouse, despite their prodigious accomplishments, beavers have rarely gotten their historical due. Backhouse's new book has the great name Once They Were Hats, and she joins me now in the studio. It's great to have you here.
Oh, it's great to be here in the Beaver State.
Yes, welcome. Welcome to the Beaver State, from the Beaver Country to the Beaver State.
Right.
I thought we could start with a quote you have from the surveyor David Thompson, who worked for the Hudson's Bay Fur Trading Company in the late 1700s and early 1800s, just to give us a sense for how prevalent beavers were in these lands.
Yes. So David Thompson wrote, "Previous to the discovery of Canada, this continent from the latitude of 40 degrees north to the Arctic Circle and from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean may be said to have been in the possession of two distinct races of beings, man and the beaver. Except for the Great Lakes, the waves of which are too turbulent, the beaver occupied all the waters of the northern part of the continent. Every river where the current was moderate and sufficiently deep, the banks at the water edge were occupied by their houses. To every small lake and all the ponds they builded dams, and enlarged and deepened them to the height of the dams. Even to grounds occasionally overflowed by heavy rains they also made dams, and made the permanent ponds, and as they heightened the dams they increased the extent and added to the depth of the water. Thus all the lowlands were in possession of the beaver, and all the hollows of the higher grounds."
Why did you want to write a whole book about beavers?
Well, I was aware of them as a keystone species, and I'm interested in keystone species as a former biologist.
What is a keystone species?
Keystone species. If you imagine a stone arch, that stone that's at the top is the keystone that holds all the other stones in place. And if it's removed, the arch collapses, and keystone species play the same role in ecosystems. They create and maintain ecosystems.
How does a beaver do that?
A beaver, by damming streams, creates more water and so pond ecosystems and wetland ecosystems specifically. And one of the things about keystone species is their effect is way out of proportion to the number of them on the land. So a few beavers can make a huge difference to the land. So they're also called ecosystem engineers.
What are some of the animals that rely on beavers for their ideal habitats? In other words, who's in trouble if beavers are in trouble?
So many different species. Amphibians, who of course are facing many challenges these days. Songbirds love wetland areas. Lots of other birds too, like herons. The more lush vegetation around wetlands attracts browsers like moose and deer, and down to the smallest voles, and it just goes on and on. And all sorts of insects as well that are kind of feeding this hub of the food web. Now,
it's one thing to call them an ecosystem engineer, but is that their plan, or is that just the end result, a side benefit for all the other creatures of what they would want to do anyway?
I consider them kind of accidental philanthropists. They're certainly not doing this for anyone else's benefit, even though all these other species do benefit.
They don't love the sound of songbirds?
No, I don't think so. But they, by doing this, then it does have this big spin-off for all the other species. Beavers are moving into places like the Bronx River in New York City and urban environments. They're settling in, and so that takes a little bit of negotiation to find a happy medium that suits them and us, but it can be done.
Do you still have questions about beavers after spending a number of years and a couple hundred pages writing about them?
I'd love to just spend more time watching beavers. They're hard to spot. They're nocturnal creatures, and I didn't get nearly as much beaver watching time as I would have liked.
Did you hear the amazing thwomp of a tail hitting the water ever at night?
Yes, that is just an iconic wilderness sound, and it's so fantastic that beavers are around still to make that sound.
Francis Backhouse, thanks so much for coming in, and congratulations on this great book.
Thank you.
Francis Backhouse is a freelance journalist from British Columbia. She is the author of the new book, Once They Were Hats.
created using Powtoon.